Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr., and welcome to another classic movie review. So, this is my review of a film that came out in 1976. This was directed by the great John Carpenter. John Carpenter directed many classic films, movies like the original Halloween, of course, Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York, and Escape from LA, and of course, the 1982 classic remake, The Thing. So many other great films. Of course, Christine and Village of the Damned, In the Mouth of Madness, Vampires, it goes on and on. But the original Assault on Precinct 13 is a movie that, for some reason, I never watched growing up. And then up until about a year ago, came across it on TV. And for the first time, actually sat down and watched it from beginning to end. And I freaking loved this movie by the time it was over. I have seen the remake that came out in 2005 that starred Lawrence Fishburne and Ethan Hawke. Both those actors are great, and it was a pretty good action movie, but there's something about the original 1976 film just has that classic 70s feel to it, and an amazing score, another great John Carpenter score. And even though this came out in the 70s, the score sounds awfully 80s to me, but very, very badass. And we have two actors that I'm not very familiar with as leads in the film. Austin Stoker, who plays Ethan Bishop, the cop who's sort of in charge, holding down the fort, the precinct, basically when the shit hits the fan. He's really good as the hero. And he's, of course, very not just, like a nice guy, but at the same time, you get a sense that this guy will sort of handle his business if he has to encounter the bad guys, which he does frequently, because once the bad guys come out in this film, like that song, The Freaks Come Out at Night, basically, though towards the opening of the film, they come out during the day, actually, and it's a very shocking, violent scene that sort of kicks off the sequence of events that leads to the standoff at the precinct. And there is someone who has been victimized by this gang of crazed, like street thugs, basically. And they're on something. They're on some kind of drug or something. And so this guy, he's running from them and finds the precinct 13, which is basically on its last night before everything is being moved to a new precinct across town or something. And so only people there are, a couple of staff members and this one cop who is, just helping them move, last few things for the very last night. And so this guy shows up needing sanctuary, and, they let him in, of course, but before they know it, you have all these crazed lunatics trying to get in, shoot the place up. And there's a bus that shows up before that happens, full of prisoners. And one of these prisoners, of course, sort of is another take charge kind of guy, played by Darwin Joston, an actor that I'm not familiar with at all, but very much enjoyed his performance in the movie. Tony Burton, an actor who, those of you who are familiar with the Rocky movies, played Apollo's trainer in those movies and trained Rocky in the fourth movie and the sixth movie. He's in this movie. So you see a young Tony Burton in the film. You see a couple of actors from John Carpenter's movies, actors like Annie Loomis, who was in Halloween '78, and you also see Charles Cyphers, who played her dad, Sheriff Brackett, in Halloween '78. He plays the cop sort of escorting the prisoners that have to stop when one of the prisoners appears to be sick. And so, of course, the nearest place they can stop is Precinct 13. And that the way it builds up when they stop, once they start getting like this sniper fire, and they're inside, and they start getting sort of killed off one at a time. It's really, really suspenseful all the way to the end, to the final standoff. And this movie does have a really great 70s feel and a great John Carpenter feel. There are some very nice quiet moments in the film between the more violent moments that are very well acted for a movie that's basically a B movie. And this movie does show a lot of the promise that John Carpenter would later fulfill with his later work. And just for an early film by itself, I think stands up really well, especially for a 70s movie, given that this is a thriller just on the basis of being suspenseful, just having that John Carpenter eye throughout the movie with just the way he shoots the movie. It's very well crafted in that regard and very well paced. And of course, even though these actors aren't A-list actors, they do a very good job and are very serviceable to the story. And I really dig this movie. This was a movie that completely took me by surprise, and anyone that decides to check this out, I think that they'll be surprised just how suspenseful and exciting this movie is. And of course, it's John Carpenter, so that should be no surprise, I think, by any means. He's more than earned that reputation. Like I'm always telling everybody, get the hard copies because they're out there. I'm a big fan of physical media myself, having grown up in the VHS DVD era. And so whenever the Blu-rays of these classics come out, I try to get my hands on them. That's Austin Stoker right there, who plays the cop, and that is Darwin Joston right there. So that's both of them working back to back as sort of really cool duo, little buddy duo. And yeah, very good action thriller. Definitely holds up as a fun time. So check that out, and gonna go ahead and call it a day. Thank you very much for checking out this review. If you are just getting acquainted with the channel, please hit that bell so you can get more notifications on more classic movie reviews. If you're into that kind of thing, I'm always talking about old films. Every now and then I'll talk about a new film if I see something new that I really enjoy. But for the most part, this is a channel where I discuss classic movies, movies from the 30s, 40s, and so on. Even 80s and 90s, because those are classics by now. So thank you very much. Please share, comment, like, subscribe, and look out for the next classic movie review. So till next time, peace out.